you have a meeting with your staff? How often?
Every morning I have a meeting with myself. Sometimes it's successful.
Oh no, but with your team?
Oh yes. So every morning we do, and then once a week we have a longer one.
Yeah. So you have different desks around your office, I see, and everybody's sitting at their desk. When you have a meeting, do you just stand there and yell at everyone? Or do you all gather in one place?
Yeah, we gather.
You gather, right? And everyone comes to one place. You meet. You have an agenda, right? I assume you don't just say like, I'm not sure what we're going to talk about this morning. You have an agenda. You infuse the agenda into your team, and then do you keep them in the meeting room, or you send them back to your desk?
They go back.
They go back. Meditation is the same way. Energy is always flowing out of you to people and things. It's about pulling energy to one place, having an agenda for that energy, telling what that energy needs to focus on, changing the vibration of the energy. Remember Tesla? Think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. You pull all the energy in one place, you change the frequency of that energy to the frequency you want, and then you send it back out again. Sports teams do this. They gather on the side of the field where the coach says, okay, we had a plan, you went out, you played, now everybody's off the plan. Come back in, regroup, get back on the plan, or here's a modified plan, go back out, do the same thing.
Right.
Companies do this, right? So meditation is having that meeting. But going back to mindfulness, mindfulness is not something you practice concentration. And that's something that's never taught. And the app that I'm creating that I was telling you about is really to teach people not only to have the course on concentration that my book and the course is about. It's about teaching, it's called Unwavering Focus. It's not only about teaching concentration, but the special feature of the app is that we have a whole ritual section in there. So I've broken the day into 4 parts. There's the morning into 6-hour segments. So there's morning, afternoon, evening, and night. And in each of those 4 segments, I help people create rituals. In the morning, you make the bed. You give your spouse or your partner your undivided attention. And in the afternoon, there's a couple other rituals. In the evening, there's the rituals. In the night, there's rituals. And every time you do a ritual, you rate yourself. So if you make the bed, you can rate yourself 0, 1, 2, 3. 0, I didn't make the bed. 1, I threw the sheet over the bed. 2, I kind of made it kind of nice. 3, I made it like the 4 seasons. So every day you do your ritual. It's the chop wood, carry water thing, but you rate your ritual. And then after 2 weeks, a month, a year, we have a graph and data that you can read to see how well you're performing your rituals and which part of the day you're doing better, which part of the day you're not doing so well.
And you concentrate while you're doing this.
Yes.
Just like you did in the monastery. When you're sweeping, you're sweeping.
Yeah.
When you're cooking, you're cooking. When you're cleaning, you're cleaning.
Yeah.
And that's being mindful.
And that's being mindful, but you can't be mindful unless you can concentrate on what you're doing. Because mindfulness, and I would suggest for people listening to this interview, go online, go onto Webster's or Oxford Dictionary, and actually look up the word mindfulness and see how it's defined. It's about being aware in a moment-to-moment basis. The only way to do that is to be concentrated, and that's what being mindful is, and that's what being present is to be able to be completely engaged and full attention onto who and what you're engaged with.
Right.
That's the state of concentration. The byproduct of that, you can be aware of what's happening on a moment-to-moment basis.
And these rituals that you're going to teach on your app
Yeah.
gets me in the more I can do these rituals and do them well, it gets me into this habit of mindfulness and concentration. Is that the idea?
Exactly. So take an Olympian, for example, a sprinter. So Usain Bolt. I don't know very much about this man, but I'm going to make a few assumptions. Brian, you tell me if my assumptions are off, okay? Fastest man on earth, right? I'm sure every day his life is disciplined. He runs every day. This is when he was still competing. Runs every day. He goes to the gym. That boy is ripped, right? There's not an ounce of fat on him. He eats healthy, drinks a lot of water. I'm sure he stretches, because quick sprints, you don't want to pull a muscle, so he stretches. Is that fair?
I would assume he does those things,
right?
yes.
Yeah. So his whole day is filled with rituals preparing him for 9.58 seconds, or whatever the time was, right? And that's how you should look at your life. Your whole day needs to be filled with rituals, so that ultimately, when you're doing something, when you're spending time with your family having dinner, that half an hour you can be completely concentrated and present. But you can't expect to be all over the place, distracted all day, and then go home for dinner at 8:30 at night and hope to sit with your family in concentration for half an hour and have dinner, when for 23 hours and 30 minutes you've been practicing distraction. You need to look at your life the same way an Olympian might look at his or her life, where the whole day is filled with rituals. And in the monastery, we meditated as a group for 1 hour a day. That's all we meditated. People always think that monks meditate all day and they're slowly sweeping the sidewalks, but we don't. Meditate 1 hour a day. What are we doing the rest of the day? Gurudeva taught us to practice concentration. Not to practice mindfulness, practice concentration. So if you're speaking with another monk, you give that person your undivided attention. If you're sweeping, you do that. If you're programming, which we all had Macs, as you know, programming, then you give the computer your undivided attention. So 23 hours of practice and concentration. So when we sat down to meditate, what state of mind do you think we were in? It was so amazing when you sat in the room with the 27 monks and Gurudeva, it was laser focus. Everybody was concentrated. Because that's what we practice all day. And I think people take a different approach right now. They think, if I meditate for 10 minutes in the morning, I'm good, I'm Zen. And the rest of the day I can just do whatever I want to do.
And the rest of the day is constant multitasking. So I'm doing many things at once in a poor way.
So what do you become good at? You become good at whatever it is you practice. Because practice doesn't have the ability to discriminate between what's a positive practice and what's a negative practice. So if you practice something negative all the time, you become really good at it. So if you practice distraction all the time, 10 hours a day, what do you become good after 6 months? Distraction. Anybody practicing anything for 10 hours a day becomes really good at it. And the truth is, with 24 hours in a day, most people sleep, 7, 8 hours? So you're awake for 16. And out of the 16 hours, are they only practicing distraction for 7 or 8 hours? Probably more like 13 or 14 hours a day of practicing distraction. So if you do that 7 days a week, imagine if you practice playing the piano 14 hours a day, 7 days a week. How good would you be after 6 months? Really
amazing, you'd think, yeah.
So how good are people at distraction? If you look at most people out there, they are, you're talking about mastery, they have mastered the art of distraction.